never been warned like this before, all of us, about climate change.
Post-apocalyptic scenes in the Philippines.
This is the rainy season. Most parts of the country remain dry.
Flooding continues to cause misery in Germany.
We are now into an era of man-made climate change. It'll mean more droughts, more heat waves, disruption of food and water supplies, and increased risk of conflicts over declining resources. No one will be left untouched by the impact.
What does it take to get a stake in this game? Lobbyists, corporate influence, money? You've been negotiating all my life. Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Get it done.
The climate crisis is madness. We cannot sit and stay helpless. It is now time to raise ambition and take action. We believe that solving climate change is our moral duty. This moral duty is applicable to all parties. Can humanity rise to this occasion?
Marching together with my indigenous brothers and sisters and our allies to call upon the world to keep the oil in the ground, defend the Amazon, fight against climate change, and also protect the environment.
And one of the most important aspects is that they've put indigenous issues at the forefront of the walk. And I think a lot of people, a lot of activists are noticing that.
Reconnecting and restoring that balance. And we hear that over and over from community to community. It doesn't matter if they're coming from Polynesia, coming from the Arctic, it's all about restoring the balance.
Resource extraction and exploitation of our lands is so easy because they go hand in hand.
Not be quiet to take action now because we cannot be standing there. We have to do something. And that's what we're doing here. We are all taking action today. We're idle no more.
People around the globe took to the streets, demanding action before it's too late.
Hundreds of thousands of people worldwide took to the streets on Sunday to call on world leaders to act to cut carbon emissions and stop climate change. The People's Climate March, which was held in over 160 countries, protesters carried sunflower signs and held up posters and banners that demanded action in what was the largest protest ever on the issue. Large rallies also took place in Australia and Europe. Organizers in Australia said as many as 30,000 participated in Melbourne rallies, while some 40,000 marchers are said to have showed up in London.
In what organizers say is the biggest mobilization ever to combat climate change. An estimated 400,000 people marched to the streets of Manhattan, about 4 times the 100,000 expected. 400,000 people is a lot of people. I mean, that's a big march. What does it mean what does this march mean for the politics of this issue here, for the power of the movement, for what happens in the UN?
Well, I think the biggest thing about yesterday is really what it means for the climate movement. I think it was a defining moment for the movement, and it shows that the climate movement has reached this kind of maturity that's bringing in a lot of new folks. And I think it's a point where the leaders of the climate movement can start trusting people power. For decades now, the mainstream of the big green groups have been trying to appease those in power and appease corporations and concentrated wealth. And I think that's because they saw that as the only force big enough to do the kind of work that needed to be done for climate change. And
so it's like, well, we can partner with these companies towards conservation. We can partner with these companies towards these sort of environmental objectives because we're big institutional players and they have the power.
Right, because they're the big force that we see all the time in our society. And we don't see the power of people power all the time. We don't see that collective power. And it's not something that we can learn to have faith in because of avatars on a screen or names on a petition. It's something you got to feel in a real way. You got to see those people and feel those people and sing with those people and march with those people. And that's what happened this week. And I think it can be a defining, empowering moment for those leaders to say, this is the kind of force that can create the kind of change that we need.
This is a movement that has really come very far and has gotten more militant. I mean, it's you've got arrests, you've got people engaging in peaceful, nonviolent civil disobedience, you've got people in the streets. I think it's partly, and tell me if you agree with this, that people are just like, those politicians don't get it and are not going to fix it. We need to just go into the street. Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive failure, a massive political failure, and things are changing very rapidly.